Hi there, I'm Sphinx Akashaa, the champion of Bards, and the creator and proprietor of the Everbright Archive. We like to tell stories here, and the best stories are told with a cup of hot, soothing tea. I'm really proud that our show is affiliated with one of the best tea shops in the multiverse, Friday Afternoon Tea. They're a fantastic family-owned company based right here out of the Pacific Northwest, and they offer amazing teas and tea blends that are made for geeks and by geeks. They specialize in incredible blends based on some of your favorite fandoms. My favorite tea right now is called Number 9 for the Tomb. It's an aged white tea inspired by Tamsin Muir's Locked Tomb trilogy, and that's just one of the fandoms this tea shop is inspired by. To learn more and get some amazing teas of your own, visit FridayTea.com and use the code MULTIVERSE. That's MULTEAVERSE at checkout to get 10% off your total purchase, because we're friends now. See you out there on the Storied Path.
Within each of us is a storyteller, and a story waiting to be told. Universes of our own making that we breathe into life with our very being.
And we tell these stories to live, to relate, to entertain, to understand, and to connect. For we are the stories that help others to understand themselves.
We tell stories that are funny, sad, heroic, common, and fantastical. For we are all these things and more.
And when we come together, share our universes with one another, we create something special. We create a multiverse.
Here, at the center of the multiverse,
we welcome you to sit,
get cozy,
and listen
as we traverse the Storied Path. Here, we welcome you to the Everbright Archive. And welcome back, all of you, to another episode of the Everbright Archive. I am, of course, your host and storyteller for this particular story, Sphinx Akashaa, your current champion of Bards, pending the end of the cycle, of course. And I am joined once again by some of the most fantastic players in the TTRPG verse. I will go ahead and let them quickly introduce themselves, and then we'll get right back into our story. Starting with Madness Diamond.
So I just need to be prepared to go first from now on. Got it.
You were first on my thing.
Oh, but still. But hi, I'm Madness Diamond. Since we're friends now, you can call me Diamond. I'm a TTRPG actual play performer, a writer, and a content creator, and all around well of creative stress with how many things that I do. You will be joining us along the Storied Path, and I shall be playing, what is my character's name? Lysandra. I shall be playing Lysandra. I had to remember where we were. I'm so sorry.
That's quite all right. And we'll go right along next to Brynniursa.
hello, I'm Brynniursa. And that's all you need to know. Goodbye.
Well, all right then. I guess that's all we're getting. Damn. International Woman of Mystery, Brynniursa.
Darn right.
Well, all right then.
She basks in obscurity.
She does. She does. It's true. It's true. Well, shit.
I suppose if you want, I could say that my character is Jodie Bank, resident mouth.
Legit. We will saunter further along to Bardic Sweet Tea.
Okay. Well, hello everybody. My name's Sweet Tea. I don't know what to say about myself. Except that I'm going to be playing Malachi Davis. Resident stick in the mud, I guess. Not incorrect statement.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Malachi is, in fact, and quote unquote, a resident stick in the mud.
Yeah.
Who promised to get weirder, mind you. Who promised to
It's
match
true.
the weirdness.
There was a promise to get weirder.
There was indeed.
Mm-hmm.
I had to find out what weird is to Malachi.
That's fair. Well, I mean, so speaking of weird, the next person on our and final person at our table, as I'm sure someone who can show Malachi all about what that means. Selkie Cove.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm Selkie Cove. It is my challenge to you to use more and more obscure pronouns for me every time you talk about me. And I am playing Blaidd, who currently is just a weird-ass person. Currently. You know, we're setting a bar currently for how weird Malachi needs to be, but the problem is, because everyone is currently undergoing changes, that bar gets progressively pushed higher. So I'm excited to see how weird Malachi has to get.
Excellent. I'm excited for this as well. Cool. Well, let's move right along. We'll start with a previously on the last story. You met our fantastic party of teachers, Blaidd, Jodie, Lysandra, and Malachi, who are high school teachers of various subjects at the Sidney Poitier School for the Gifted. Every so many years, students from that school get whisked away, teleported off to some far-off parallel world where they presumably become heroes. Only this time, it's our teachers that were isekai'd for all intents and purposes. Yes, we're using the Japanese trope, and I don't care if you don't like it. Doing it anyway. They wind up on a world called Phaedos, where they encounter a lovely woman, a devil woman by the name of Callie Zephyrin, a blue-skinned. I had a term for, but I don't remember what that is right now because my brain decided not to. We'll just call her a tiefling. Let's just call it what it looks like. She looks like a tiefling, a 7-foot-tall tiefling. And she is basically the high priestess of the order of the solar, no, not that, of the temple of the solar arcanum Solim. And she welcomes this party of teachers to Phaedos as heroes, unbeknown, which was, kind of a surprise to our party. She escorts them out of the temple and into the town of Dawngate, which rests at the kind of lower end, the southern edge of the kingdom of Solim. It's a kind of a riverside town, very pretty, very small, but also very much solar punk. Beautifully like mix of kind of old world and modern aesthetics. Very like clean energy based. And they go next door to a lovely tavern where they meet a fantastic orc bartender by the name of Agrim, who welcomes them all in, gets everyone some really, really good drinks. He is introduced to brand new drinks that he had never heard of or encountered before, but is now going to become an absolute a part of the menu from here on out. Gets the party bread and bowl soup. Of course, Lysandra's has to be extra spicy. That's right. You all introduce ice cream floats to Agrim at Uncle Og's. It's his new favorite thing. And Kali basically kind of runs down to all of you that you are only the second set of adults in her time here on Phaedos to have been summoned, and that all of the other heroes, herself included, were once summoned to Phaedos as teenagers. Circle tends to hang on to them, train them up, lets them grow up to be adults before they're allowed to go out into the world to try and fight for their freedom and the freedom of Phaedos itself. And the only way that one can get your freedom, their freedom, and the world's freedom is to travel up to the 12th floor of the world and defeat the Guided Dreamer, the being that created Phaedos to begin with. Some die in the attempt, others give up and create lives here on Phaedos, which explains why over the last 10,000 years the planet has become so populous. But due to all of that, the teachers have definitely decided that the Guided Dreamer has to die, if only to keep more kids from being summoned here. Kali has her second in command, Captain Jodie Hearth, contact the Circle, and we got a scene at the end where we got to meet Duke, Desi, and Carrera, who are going to now travel to Dawngate to meet our summoned heroes. Meanwhile, the four of you get rooms at Uncle Og's, and you spend the next couple days just kind of getting to know Dawngate, as you all await for these representatives from the Circle. So, very quickly, I'd like to know from each of you, what do you guys get into while you are awaiting these representatives? The eye blink was fantastic.
Fuck it. Let's do this. So, I feel like Blaidd is already very excited at the idea. If I believe it's meeting Carrera.
Yes.
Cool, I got the person right. Yes. I never do that. And so that's one of the things that's running through his mind. But he's tinkering with various parts of himself because he is missing a few parts of himself. He's missing an eye, he's missing several fingers, he's missing one of his legs. Well, most of his legs. And yes, he's fixed them, quote unquote, but they require regular upkeep that he's probably tinkering away with, just like in the corner somewhere, muttering to himself about things he wants to change or he might be able to change. And I think there's this moment where he finally gets something to pop back into place where it should, and he has this, like, I fixed it kind of moment where he hops up, and then something else just ching, falls apart and just hits the wall next to him. And it's the defeated as he sits back down and as excited as he is to be tinkering with it, there's this moment where he stops and he looks at his leg, and there's almost a look of disgust that he has. And it's not directed towards the mechanical parts that he sees. It's directed towards the flesh that's still there. And his gaze goes up his body, and it goes to his hands, which have this slight tremor in them. And it's just that look of disgust just deepens as he takes in himself. It eases whenever he sees, like, one of the robotic fingers that he's got, or when he catches a glimpse of the fake eye in the mirror. But anytime it touches flesh, you get that disappointment more than anything else.
Gotcha. Okay. That is good to know. Definitely putting that in the notes. Who else wants to go next?
Yeah, who wants to follow that? If I recall correctly, I might be misrecalling, but I believe you said this place had the theater, correct?
There is a small theater in Dawngate, yes.
So I do feel like Malachi would spend a lot of his free time just sitting in the really towards the back of the stadium, or the back of the stands, watching whatever plays or whatever rehearsals are going on, and like writing down notes, being like, I could bring this back to my class. Like, this is brilliant.
Awesome. So while you're there, you actually find out that there are people, that there have been, at least in the past, people from alternate versions of Earth who have brought back their knowledge of Shakespeare and Tolstoy and various other playwrights, and have also brought back knowledge of, like, Gilbert and Sullivan and Mozart and Andrew Lloyd Webber, and have been putting together, like, rehearsing for like a version of As You Like It that you've never seen before because it's from an alternate Earth, or a version of Kinky Boots that, you know, is also from a different alternate Earth. Are people doing, like, one-man shows or one-person shows, and it's like you notice that there is, for a small town, a considerable amount of talent here. That begs the question, like, why are they still here?
Honestly, like, maybe, like, between shows, he'd probably, like, go up to whoever's directing and be like, I have some notes.
That
like,
sounds about right.
Great show. Wonderful. Loved everything about it. But here's some things. My friends, have you ever heard of the works of Lin-Manuel Miranda?
I would say that it's been long enough since someone's been summoned that no one's brought back the works of Lin-Manuel Miranda yet.
I was gonna, like, go at one point. I was gonna go through, like, the entirety of Hamilton with the director there.
Yeah, the director, a very, very like, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like, literally rabbit folk. It's just like, oh, really, and is, like, writing down, like, word for word that you're saying in this, like, big giant, like, clipboard that he's holding. It's like, tell me more about this this Alexander Hamilton and this Aaron Burr. Just, like furiously writing, like, calls, like, an assistant who is this, like, very slender looking elven woman comes by and says, yes, bring more paper, we're going to need more paper, more pens, get just make yourself comfortable, we've got a lot of work to do. Turns back to Malachi. Please tell me everything. Say more right now. And we'll just spend as much time as you're willing to lend talking about and getting more information about Lin-Manuel Miranda and his works, particularly Hamilton.
You tell him all about Hamilton and Tick Tick Boom, and yeah, I'd probably go with over Encanto as well, probably.
Yeah. You get to like Encanto, and then you mentioned you briefly mentioned In the Heights, and it's like, I would like to know more about this In the Heights.
Yes.
Awesome. So you spend a good deal of time there. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and pick on Brynniursa. What is Jodie doing in these 2 days waiting for the circle representatives?
She has found several buildings she has found the tallest buildings that she can find. And what she has done is each day just kind of calculated, and it's quite obvious, or maybe not, to those around her. She's calculating the distance, like the old a squared plus b squared equals c squared. She's finding that invisible angle between the ground and the building. And for 2 days, that's what she does. Then she silently decides to climb up the tallest one. Your faces.
Only because I have an idea as to what's coming.
She climbs up the tallest one and just takes in the view. A whole civilization that she couldn't even imagine that she's been sending her students to. Maybe some of them are still here, but she knows that many of them are not. Well, taught them how to survive. Taught them how to take leaps of faith. They had to be so brave. And didn't even know why. I'm going to make sure they don't need to be brave anymore. And that means... And she stretches her shoulders, going behind her back and bringing it forward. Because she's discovered another new addition to her body. And as it finally springs forward, 2 moth-like wings seem to flutter into existence behind her. The design...
I have a question.
Yes.
A question. What kind of moth? What kind of moth?
What kind of moth? Come here. I do not have the name anymore.
That's quite all right.
But you saw last time the kind of yellows of her antenna. As these wings unflutter, there is still just a little bit of a yellow sheen to them. But it's almost like they are fuzzy in their appearance, a soft velvet to these wings. And you see red bleed into creams. And an eye yellow, seeming to stare out into the world as the wings flutter. They're a little awkward as they beat, as though trying to figure out like how to unfurl safely. Well, birds just kinda go for it. A little glad. Her antennas kind of slink themselves back into settling against her hair as she takes 2 steps back and runs 3 steps forward and launches herself off of this building.
Oh, I love this. Okay, so Bryn, I'm gonna ask you for a roll.
All right.
And this is like not to see if you like crash, because you won't. But I want to see how awkward your first flight might be. So, Dex plus willpower, please. So it'll be 2d6s.
2d6s. Dex plus willpower. You know what? I'm gonna figure out that rules while we're doing other things. Come here. Come here. Come here. Nothing is working today. 7.
7, okay. It's a little wonky at first. You dip. You almost have. You think you're gonna have that like very like Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote moment where you hover in midair and then you drop, but you drop like maybe a foot before your wings like spread out. It's a little shaky at first, but the wings kind of find themselves very quickly, and they beat, and you find yourself hovering.
Hey there, this is Magnus, Goblin Artificer Extraordinaire, and you're listening to the Everbright Archive, a TTRPG actual play anthology podcast series. I hope you're enjoying the show. Now, let's get back to it and see what these crazy kids are up to.
All right. There we are. Peter Pan ain't got nothing on me.
I love that. So as you are experimenting now with your new wings, we will transition over to Lysandra. Lysandra, in these last couple of days while waiting for the circle representatives, what are you doing?
Whenever we started getting summoned, Lysandra had grabbed basically their work bag that they accidentally brought to the assembly. Because it's just the bag that they also brought to the school that is a mix of the things for their teaching of begrudgingly being a home ec teacher, but also their performance gear. Because like I said in the first episode, they were out late in the middle of nowhere performing with their troupe, basically, and experimenting with a couple of new tricks. And since having a little bit of time before getting into the business of things of apparently being heroes now, Lysandra will spend those 2 days the first part of the morning after, they are just kind of walking around the city, just seeing the sights, playing tourist, getting lost on purpose to see what interesting things there are, trying anything that smells good, because they're very food motivated as a person.
You find a lot of that here.
Yes.
Still in the back of their heart thinking that Uncle Ogg's food tasted best.
He would tell you that you are not wrong.
Yes. And so they spend the first half of that day, but they're also looking to see if there are any other street performers that just kind of are practicing or doing routines, not really looking for buskers, not really looking for anybody who like is doing kind of like the living statue things or anything like that. Just people who are doing it to do it, just have that enjoyment of it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You find like, so you're wandering around the village or town rather, and you start to kind of find yourselves kind of along the outskirts near like some of the farmland, and these very kind of ranging from like small to large, but all of them very beautifully made, very well crafted, adorned in plants, farmhouses. And a couple of them have, folks playing, like sitting on their porches, playing varieties of instruments, just kind of doing it to while the time away. Someone with what looks like a 3-necked guitar, sitting like on the fence of their porch, just kind of strumming along. Like each neck just slightly longer than the next. Like one of them starts off at kind of like ukulele size, and the next one it goes to like basically guitar size, and the next one is basically bass guitar sized, and they will very very handily switch back and forth between the 3 necks. There's a couple of folks that you find like playing the flutes or kind of pan flutes, the pipes. There is one woman in particular, and she is about maybe 5.5 feet tall. Is one of the Musa, the mouse folk. A beautiful kind of gray fur, wearing like bright blue and red flowing robes. Not quite like a kimono, but very, very similar. And she is playing an irzu, bow kind of going back and forth against like the couple of strings, and is very just languidly playing as she watches the sunset across her crops. So yeah, you find what you're looking for.
I'm in love. It's so Lysandra. But I think that's because that's the first part of that day. And then once they make it back, they're kind of what their thought process is I don't know what music sounds like here. I don't know how my new body moves because it's much taller than my old one. Like there's also horns to account for now. There's also a tail to account for now that betrays feelings sometimes. And I think a new habit that Lysandra learns is they have a new habit of thumping their foot along to things that they enjoy. Yeah. For anybody who hasn't gotten it yet, Lysandra looks like something called a Volpertinger, which is a Germanic folklore creature that resembles a jackalope, except for they have feathered wings and fangs. But they look like a rabbit with all those details. So it's still very rabbit traits sometimes, but it's moving around a lot to try to just figure out, it's like, how quickly is like my walking now? How, if I sprint, how far am I actually going to go? It's kind of that thing of getting used to a new body. But it's also how many doorways do I need to now duck under? But so while all this is going on and they're just adjusting to the new body language and then also learning new instruments that are here, more familiar instruments, and then hearing rhythms and tones and tempos. The second day is then spent basically finding just kind of an area that is, if they start spinning something around, nobody's going to get smacked, basically.
That's easy to find, particularly on the outskirts of town. The kind of land in between farmlands that you can choose and just have at.
Yeah. And they are going to, from the bag that got transported with them, they're going to pull out basically a collapsible bow staff.
Okay.
That they use for their performances. And they're going to basically set the entire thing up. So it's taking out this, like, cylindrical tube, snapping it extended to be about maybe 4 feet long, and then extending it again, and that 4 feet becomes 5. And then adjusting it, playing with the weight of it to make sure it's still weighted, and then attaching implements on the ends of it to basically build a collapsible, what's called a dragon staff, for anybody who doesn't know fire dancing. Where it would have baskets in it where you can fill it with fuel, set them on fire, and then spin fire with it. But this one, those are empty. Those are more so just weighted points that Lysandra kind of wants to play with now. Because it used to be that this was a tool they didn't get to use before, because they were just a little bit too short for it. But now they're above 6 feet tall. So, only by like 2 inches maybe, but still. And so they're going to spend that time remembering the tempos that they heard, remembering the kind of like types of instruments from their walk. They're going to basically start testing out what their dexterity is like now.
I'm very glad you said that. I would love it if, Lysandra, if you could make me a Dex plus Insight roll.
That is going to be 2d10s for you.
Yeah. No, it's going to be, your Insight is a D6, so it'll be a D12 and a D6. Yeah, your Insight's at a D6.
Okay.
Your willpower is at a D10.
So you said D10.
Your DL will be 10, yeah. Or D12, D6, because your Dex is at a D12.
That's right. 6. I am at a 13.
13. Oh, I love that. Cool. So you begin to kind of work with this thing that you've never used, really got a chance to use before now. And you're not quite sure how or why, but it feels almost second nature to you. Like you take to it immediately. And you go into this very, very kind of beautiful and slightly scary like flow state where you just move and it all just seems to click. And I'm gonna toss this coin to see if this happens or not. Sure does. Awesome. You feel something click between yourself and your staff. Like almost as if a part of you is now reflected in the staff. And you're not quite certain if you saw what you saw, but it almost looked as if there was a slight shimmer from the staff just out of the corner of your eye.
That's just probably from having too many, slightly liquored up root beer floats with Uncle Og this morning. Because we didn't really tell him it's not an all-day event kind of drinking thing. So,
Hey, it's somewhere.
It's sometime somewhere.
Exactly.
Maybe it's liquor root beer float time in the morning. And I think
it is a tavern. There were no posted drinking hours listed there. So,
and I think the last thing they're gonna attempt, they're gonna need a little bit of supervision for. So, Lysandra is going to basically just kind of see if there's anybody Callie might know that can put out a fire.
Callie would kind of like, you ask that of Callie, and Callie would kind of give you like a raised eyebrow. Well, and she thinks on that for a moment. I suppose I can't think of anyone quite off the top of my head, but I could assign Captain Hearth to you. She is adaptable.
If I start blowing fire, is that captain going to get scared and let something burn down on accident? I need someone who basically works as a fire extinguisher.
Oh, she's seen weirder things than you, my dear.
Ah, that is a compliment. I am not the weirdest of us, by any means, so I will not take that title. But I would greatly appreciate the assistance.
Yes, I will send for her. And she does. And Captain Hearth will kind of appear. It takes about 15 minutes because she was kind of finishing up her kind of morning routine of getting into her armor and everything. But Jodie approaches you outside the temple and is in, clad in full gear, cape and everything, holding her helm. Yes, Mistress Callie Zephyrin sent for me on your behalf.
Yes, Captain. Do you know how to put out fires?
I have done so before.
Fantastic. Here's a fire blanket, and we'll just put a fire blanket into the captain's arms.
Oh.
Come with me. I found a place that is all pavement with no kinds of grass things to catch on fire. I want to try something new, but I need supervision. I am not an arsonist. I am not.
She raises an eyebrow. So nothing is currently on fire then?
No, and I would like to keep it that way. And on, basically guiding back to that space.
Cool. And she was like, I see. And we'll walk with you. Still like a bit of confusion in her face, but but very much of the, let's see what this is all about attitude.
And one of the two things that Lysandra would have asked Uncle Ugg for is a high-proof liquor with a burn rate, and then some kind of fire-starting implement that can be instant.
Oh, yeah. He gives you a very high alcohol content, basically moonshine that he's been working on. And he hands you this jug of it, and it kind of smells like jet fuel. So you definitely get very much this is alcohol content. This is high alcohol content. And then he gets you a bunch of rags that are they feel like raw silk. These are very flammable. These should help quite a bit with what you got going on. Hi there, I'm Sphinx Akashaa, your champion of Bards, and you're listening to the Everbright Archive, a TTRPG actual play podcast anthology series. I really hope you're enjoying the show. Why don't we get back to it?
And I'm going to take those, and I'm going to take basically the Captain Jodie, who I am now making into my assistant, and I'm going to explain to Jodie the concept of fire buddies. And always have your buddy the buddy system that Lysandra had taught their students. Your fire safety buddy. And basically getting set up, it's showing off basically the new trick with the dragon staff. All while kind of focusing on the flow of it and then trying to match like the tempo specifically from the person with the 3-headed guitar.
Yeah.
That's just kind of a memory at this point, and trying to ingrain that into like some kind of movement plan, and then showing that, explaining how the dragon staff works, but then collapsing part of it to make it a little bit tighter in, and walking through the steps of how fire breathing works as like basically a show trick, and why we have the fire blanket.
Yeah, and at that point, like Jodie's like, I see now. Well, from what I can see of your implement there, that would make a fine weapon if you ever wished to weaponize it. It could be quite useful. Oh yes, there are several people that could do that for you. I'm more than certain if you spoke with Lady Curator when she arrives, she would be more than happy to assist you in that regard.
All right, I'm gonna set it on fire now. So, 2 steps back.
Oh,
prepare the blanket.
Oh, all right. And she will like unfurl the blanket and have it like at the ready, like spread out in both hands. It's like eyes peeking over the top of it.
Yes. And how this works is I'm taking the highly flammable rags, putting it into the fuel source part of the dragon staff, because they should have a burn rate of, it should be kind of an instantaneous thing, but they should also burn out and not stay lit.
Gotcha.
So Lysandra kind of puts those in, tests it around with getting used to the balance again. Which is, if you've ever seen a flag court performer, basically readjusting to the balance of an instrument.
Yeah.
Taking a giant mouthful of the basically jet fuel from Uncle Og and a Zippo lighter. Please, anybody listening, do not try this at home.
Don't do it.
You will burn your tongue off, and maybe your eyebrows if you still have those. It is going to, in one hand, start basically spinning it over their wrist until and then stop it, light the Zippo, blow up in a basically performance pose, and then spin it again and continue the flame to light both ends of it, and then fire spin it. So.
And you see, like, Jodie is awestruck and is like, oh, and is watching that, and it feels so natural coming from you. This fire that you breathe out, and while in normal circumstances, that flame would have died out not immediately, but like not long after you started. The flame keeps.
Even better. So they're just gonna keep spinning it, and they're going to redo that dance that they were doing before with now a lit dragon staff on each end. And they're going to just kind of keep talking to Jodie while they're doing it, to Captain Jodie, since we have our Jodie.
Yeah.
And just explaining, it's like, I used to do this in our Earth. This was actually kind of my hobby when I wasn't being a teacher who used to set the kitchen on fire. Tells the story about why Lysandra
that's concerning.
Yeah. Tells the story of why Lysandra is banned from making popcorn. And just does this until finally it's like the time has run of like, oh, this isn't going out. I have to put this out now. And they are going to try to do the trick of, Captain, can you please put down the fire blanket for me? Just on the ground real quick.
Should I spread it out, or should I just drop it?
Spreading it out will probably be best.
All right, and she will do as instructed, and then she will step back, but like close enough still to where like if need be she can grab it quickly.
And then Lysandra is going to basically spin the staff above their head and then do a very sharp dip and turn to put out one side of the dragon staff, where it's the flame should be put out by the force of wind putting through it. And then do it with the other side and then drop it on the fire blanket and cover it. To completely try to kill the embers.
As you do that, there is a part, like, as you were, like, doing this fire dance, there was almost something within you that kind of awakened is the word. And then there's this warmth, not quite burning, but like very comforting, very comfortable, very nice warmth in your solar plexus. And as you stop and you do your ritual to disengage the flames, you feel that warmth kind of diminish for a moment. And then it begins to match your heartbeat. Mm-hmm. You have successfully put out the flame, but there's something there. And you see now in front of you, almost as if that HUD has decided to pop up for you and you alone. New talent acquired. Elemental soul. Fire. And then it disappears. Mm-hmm. And Jodie is sitting there. Well, that was impressive.
That is just what I used to do. I mean, also, do you want a swig of this? I think it got me drunk. I felt it like here. I didn't even swallow it.
It smells like that's from Uncle Og's, is it not?
Yes.
I am technically still on duty, so maybe later, if you're available.
I'm very available until those people come in to apparently train us in being heroes.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you like spicy
food? Oh, I love spicy food. There was someone from one of the Earths some time ago that brought something by called jambalaya. That is quite delicious. I don't know if you've had this before. It is very good.
You should. And Lysandra, as they're walking back into town, is going to explain a fusion restaurant that they went to once upon a time, where they had mixed in jambalaya and birria.
Ooh. And she's, I don't think I've ever had this birria, but I would love to know more.
And then that's kind of what Lysandra does with the rest of the day.
I love it. And it's at about, I'd say, 4 p.m. when this beautiful looking, like, gold, copper, and silver plated train arrives. And Kalazephren has gathered you all to meet this train at the town station. And it's kind of a quaint little station. It looks very much like an Old West a kind of station setup. There's like a small building attached to where the train will like sit and offload passengers. The train, however, does not look like your standard like Old West train. This train looks like a Japanese bullet train. That comes in. It, as you see it like coming from a distance, it is moving very fast, but slows its approach as it arrives into town, and then very smoothly makes its stop at the station, and I would say, Blaidd, you notice that this train is hovering above the tracks.
I think Blaidd's first instinct upon seeing that is to immediately see if he can put his hand under it, but then he realizes that could be a very poor decision. But he only realizes that like a couple of inches from doing it, because the thought came into his mind and it was just a continuous motion. There was no pause, there's no filter.
And Callie Zephyrin was like on her way to stop you, but like you moved too quickly for her. It's like, but you get oh, never mind. You seem to have gotten the. All right then. And as the train kind of it comes to stop, it remains hovering. There doesn't seem to be any. There are lots of windows, but no doors that you can see to speak of. And then a space near the front of the train, just like liquid metal, just opens. And stairs kind of form out of the excess metal leading to the platform. And Callie Zephyrin just kind of leaning on her staff as she's like watching your like amazed expressions. I take it you don't have technology quite like this where you're from.
Not yet, anyway.
I thought you were gonna stop your sentence at technology. Just absolutely enamored with what's just happened.
Yes, this is our Magitrain. It's quite handy. And stepping off the train first is a large, well-built gentleman, dark-skinned, very short-cropped, wavy hair, beard that is like salt and peppered, dark brown eyes. Looks very has a very, very stern expression as he gets off the train, wearing kind of like a leather, kind of a black shirt, leather vest, leather pants and boots on with that, and then a leather coat with furred lining along the collar and along the wrist. He gets off and looks at you all, kind of gives you all a brief nod, turns to Callie Zephyrin. Callie, love, how are you? And walks over, and he is about 6'5", so Callie is still a bit taller than she is. And like puts like large arms around her and like just lifts her up off the ground. It's like, oh, you old dog, put me down. It's good to see you too. And he does. And have you gotten younger? She's like, oh, you dog, and slaps him across the shoulder. And he kind of leans over, woof woof. It's like, not in front of the heroes, please. Maybe later. And he turns to you all, very much now this like deep purple blush beneath her eyes. Everyone, this is Duke. He is the lieutenant and representative of the Circle. he also, if you travel to the capital of Dawnseed, he runs a rather successful lumber and hardware store. And introduces him to you all by name, or you all to him by name, I should say. And he shakes each of your hands in turn. Big, like, muscled hands. Pleasure to meet you all. Name's Duke, as Callie here referenced. I'll be one of the representatives administering your assessment. It's a pleasure to have you. I know that this has been a weird last couple of days. It's been about that for us too. We weren't expecting anyone for at least another year. So, apologies for how you came about here, but glad that you are here. And from behind Duke, well, move out of the way. You can't get off the train with you lumbering in front of the door. And as he, oh, wait, sorry. He moves from in front of the door, and sitting in a kind of very, very nicely crafted chair is a emerald-skinned young woman. Dark, like forest green hair. It's kind of brushed off to one side, kind of in an undercut, because the sides are shaved. Large green ears that point to either side. A couple of earrings and an ear cuff in them. She is dressed in kind of a white poet shirt with this like kind of maroon leather vest and pants combination. There is a corset underbust and black leather boots on her feet. And she, oh, hi. My name is Curator. It's fantastic to meet you all. And I would say that she walks off of the train, but she doesn't. The chair underneath her, the legs become these metallic tentacles that writhe and glide her off of the train. And she, like, with hands folded in her lap, she kind of gesticulates, I guess, in front of you all, and it's a pleasure to meet you, and like shakes each of your hands. Which one of you? I heard there was a tinkerer amongst you that I should speak to.
Blaidd at this point has been slack-jawed since the train came into view, and it's just been one thing after another that's just... Listen, this person has learned some things about himself in this brief amount of time about so many things. It takes a moment to register if someone's actually talked to him beyond, like, a greeting. And rather than, like, turning and just saying hi, like a normal fucking person, just stumbles over himself, part of his leg, like, slipping to the side as he's just like, hi, me.
Ah, hi, I'm Curator. And she offers her hand.
He'll, like, gather himself enough to stand again, even though, it's clear he never was able to fix his leg quite right, so it's at a weird little angle, but he doesn't seem to care at this point. And he reaches out with one of the hands and his two fingers missing, and he shakes eagerly.
And, like, as she shakes your hand, she notices your leg. It's like, did you build that?
Yeah, I built everything that, no one really taught me how to do it. No one teaches you how to do this stuff without paying, like, so much money. I taught myself.
You
and that's
taught
why it's
yourself.
all funky.
That's brilliant. Oh, you and I are gonna have so much fun. And like
I'm
big
so-
smile, big eyes. We're gonna have so much fun.
It's vibrating with
And as
He
she
does
moves, she steps back with you, and I assume the two of you are just like furiously.
Bowling.
And then last off the train is a woman about a few inches maybe shorter than Duke. Kind of greenish, like brown skin with green undertones in the skin. Undertusks, that small undertusks that come up from the lower jaw. Very beautiful, very striking features. Long, kind of very, very dark green hair. She wears a bit of a cloak over what look like a set of white and green robes. And carries a staff that is very, very plain in comparison to Kali Zephrin's, in that it just looks like wood that is gnarled and slightly twisted and curved in places. And she steps off the train, and Kali Zephrin's at last. This is Desdemona. She is she is a specialist in many things at the Circle, and will be also giving you your assessment. And Desdemona bows, and as she rises from her bow, Malachi, her eyes lock with yours.
Hello there.
Hello there. I am Desdemona, but you can call me Desi if you like. I'm here to help with the assessment.
Oh, splendid. I apologize. Is there something on my face? You seem to be a little.
And she kind of shakes her head. No, you're beautiful. I mean, you're fine. You're fine. And Duke just kind of gives her this like, oh really? Look. And Callie's like, oh, all right then. This is the first. And I apologize if I've come off rude. This is my first time meeting heroes, and it turns to all of you. My first time meeting heroes. I've not been with the Circle for very long, but when this opportunity was presented to me, I couldn't say no. So I'm happy to be here and happy to help provide your assessments. This is I hope will be a good time. And then looks to both Lysandra and to Jodie, and her eyebrows raise a bit, and her eyes widen just a little bit. Oh, we've got some humans who have been altered with the travel. That's fascinating. And she walks up first to Jodie, and let's see, antennae, set of very lovely wings, and she takes out what looks like a notepad and begins like furiously taking notes. This is fascinating. It looks like you are I believe the dang it, I'd forgotten the classification already.
Mood.
It looks like you are becoming one of the larvum. That's fascinating. Your gifts are very beautiful.
Why, thank you. I'm kind of getting fond of her myself. And she, as she's speaking, she like pulls one of her wings slightly in front of her and starts like stroking the side of it.
May
'Cause-
I?
Oh, certainly. And she extends it out.
And she will like very, very gently kind of run her hand over the wing membrane. Fully functional. That is lovely. Lovely work.
Thanks. I've been giving him a workout.
Well, it definitely seems, just based off of the musculature that I can observe, looks like it's been doing a world of good. And then
Well,
turns to Lysandra. Aren't you a rare sight?
Do you just compliment everyone like that?
I usually don't say much at all, but I can't help myself, I guess. You're beautiful.
Well, thank you.
It's
It's highly
rare
appreciated.
to... Oh, no. Thank you for being here. Seeing a Vulpithinger in the flesh is a rare treat.
I'm a what now?
A Vulpithinger. It's kind of an offshoot of the Lapin folk. I guess you would know them more as rabbit folk or hare folk. But they are unique in that they have the antlers you have there, and looks like you are maybe beginning to sprout some wings of your own.
I was wondering why things were getting itchy.
Yes, well, that they may the itchiness will subside once they are emerged. But yeah, it might take a couple of days more for that to happen. So apologies for the discomfort until then. I might have something to help with that, though.
I would. If you help me with the itchiness, I will let you touch my antlers.
Deal. And Callie Zephyrin just kind of, right, okay, right. So we've... This feels like it should be awkward, but apparently it's not going to be. And Malachi, you notice that Desi keeps stealing glances in your direction.
I'm gonna take mental notes of all the times she's like looking over here. Like every time I look over, it's like 5 times now. What is going on?
And Callie's from like, well, I'm sure that our new guests have had a long trip and would very much like to rest before we begin your assessments on tomorrow. So why don't we all head back to Uncle Og's? And we can get everyone settled and fed, I assume. And Duke's like, right, yeah, the food on the train is well, it's not terrible, but I could use some of Uncle Og's cooking. And Callie, it's right, as could I, and. Of course, the 4 of you, heroes, are most welcome, as you are, in fact, also staying there. And she will just kind of usher you all forward. I would like, though, for Blaidd to make me an insight plus insight roll.
Not ominous at all. I'm down.
Just to see if you notice this next bit.
Check Inside. Roll check. I doubt it.
Yeah, it's with the four. You are so engrossed in your conversation, like even walking now with next to Carrera, that you do not notice that the stairs have melded back into the train and have shut the train, and that the train itself has not moved, but now the front of the train is where the back of the train was.
He's gonna be so mad he missed that later. But I feel like this dude has enough on their mind, with talking about all of the tinkering and all of the aspects, and also trying not to eat shit in the process, because I don't know if you guys know this about him. He's really bad at walking, and his legs also like to just stop working on occasion. So it's this delicate dance of being really into the conversation. Oh, no, I'm not going to eat shit. I'm back. Hello. Yes, where were we?
Yeah. And I'll say that Carrera has noticed this and taps like a couple of buttons on the arm console of the chair, and two of the mechanical tentacles have raised up and have created basically a platform for you to sit on. It's like, please.
Open mouth astonishment again. Like that's just his set expression. Like from this point on is awe. And with almost reverence of the technology that he is interacting with, he takes the offer, and he sits with her in order to be able to focus more on the conversation. There is this amidst the reverence, there's this small look in the back, like at the edges of his vision, on the edge of his eye almost. That's this flash of deep-seated, rage-based annoyance. But outside of that, he's having a great time in this conversation.
Nice. Yeah, and the chair, the rest of the tentacles all kind of like gather up underneath the chair and just continuing pace, stepping forward. Or rather, no, I'm gonna retcon that. Rather than remain tentacles, the other tentacles go rigid, and they spread out and become mechanical spider legs, and will move forward with still kind of that same like not losing fluidity at all. Like it feels like whatever shocks are installed in this chair, they're doing a goddamn good job of like not like skipping a beat, and you do notice no change in like the fluidity of movement. It's just that good.
I live for badass fucking magical shocks.
And you all have a very, very like companionable, very lovely kind of like introductory meal together at Uncle Og's. And I'm gonna flip this coin again. Yep. Malachi, another like 3 times you catch Desi kind of like corner of her eye, sometimes like over like a mug of whatever ale or tea she's drinking, and another time like as she's like leaning over to like consult with one of the other circle members, her eyes just kind of just it's almost like she doesn't notice it's happening. Just lands on you, then realizes what's happening, and then eyes kind of dart back to whatever she should be paying attention to.
And again, he's just gonna keep mental notes of every time she looks over. I was like, "What is up with this chick?" That's like 9 times now. I don't understand what's going on here.
Yeah, you've counted maybe about 9 times that she has looked your way and then kind of like caught herself and then looked back and like concentrating on what they're doing. So we're gonna go ahead and move forward to the next morning. It is late morning. You've all had breakfast or brunch, and our Og has gotten the instruction to kind of move the chairs and things out of the way of within the tavern to give you all a bit of space. And Duke and Carrera are now standing in front of you as the four of you are kind of lined up on one side of the tavern, and Duke and Carrera now stand in the middle, and Desi is kind of off leaning against the bar, just kind of watching with a notepad. And Duke goes, well, right, so here we are. This is the part where we go ahead and give you your assessment, figure out what kind of skills you have, whether or not you might be possessing of any magical abilities, and figuring out how best we go about actually training the lot of you. I don't do a whole lot with the whole tech thing, but what I do is it's going to be a bit weird, so apologies in advance. It is with your consent. I would like to approach and sniff you.
We've sniffed and licked each other, if that helps.
Right, but I have a very, very particular skill that allows me to, let's just say I'd get more out of sniffing you than you might get out of sniffing yourselves or each other.
Right.
All right, then.
And Jodie offers.
I mean, at this point, I'm just curious, so yes, go ahead.
Right, so this might be a bit scary, and again, apologies in advance. I swear, this is all part of the process. And you see Carrera just kind of like hand covering the bottom half of her face, like mirth, absolute mirth in her eyes. Like she's struggling not to start laughing at what's about to happen. And as he steps forward, Duke's body begins to shift. Fur begins to sprout along his arms and face. The face kind of elongates into a canine snout. The ears get longer. The hair gets bristlier as he goes not quite full werewolf, but werewolf. Beautiful black and gray fur. Just the eyes are now this beautiful, like, amber color. And he walks up first to Jodie. Pardon me, madam. And takes a long... kind of tilts the head to the side, gives you a bit of a look.
Jodie mirrors, tilts her head to the side, seems to like mirror his look.
You're fierce.
Oh, thank you. Slay the day.
Slay the day, indeed. And you can see that his voice has changed along with. There's a fierce drive in you. The need to protect, to defend. And a rage. Losses you wish to prevent anyone else from experiencing.
And something familiar. Gives a bit of a huff. Draws back. It's going to be my pleasure to be the one to train you.
Oh. And as he had said the rage, one of her wings had kind of folded over herself, like almost instinctively, like, not me, never me. And there's...
And like big doggy grin, and you can see like all of, like the pointed fanged canines, the two of course in front, that are almost like saber-toothed.
And seeing that, she just kind of, I don't know, it looks rather puppy-like to her, even though it's this fierce werewolf, because she's, you know, the survival teacher. She's just like, oh, this is a friendly smile. And so it just gets a big smile back out of her.
And he gives you a nod, and then we'll walk over to, I'm going to say Malachi is the next in line. He's going to walk over, and he's going to kind of tilt head from one side to the other.
Keep in mind, I haven't showered since I've gotten here, so I just want to...
You haven't showered?
You do know that there are baths in your room.
I have very special soap. I have sensitive skin.
Right. Well, we'll have to talk to Desi about getting you something more accommodating.
If she could, that'd be fantastic.
And you see Desi kind of perk up at that.
Yeah, I have a kind of like a special bar soap. It's made with like it has oatmeal in it. It's very good. It's very soothing.
And Desi's furiously taking notes now. Just nodding, taking notes. And then he will lean forward. We'll kind of get a very confused look on his face. Well,
right then.
And then we'll turn towards Desi.
Desi, this one's definitely for you.
Is that a good thing? I'm just asking for clarification.
Oh, quite right it is, yeah. You've got some, I get the vibe that you're very good at speaking, and, that you could be very persuasive when you need to be.
Oh, can I be?
And where you are for Desi, there's a bit of the spiritual in there. Like clover and incense. You might have a talent for lighter magics.
Well, that is certainly you've piqued my interest. I would like to know what kind of magics that are available to me.
Well, we'll definitely get to the bottom of that.
Big doggy grin as he steps back, and then walks towards Blaidd.
Blaidd holds up a whole hand and goes, "You cannot talk to me like that. It will awaken things in me, and I do not function well enough for it."
Oh!
Maybe I'll save you for last, then.
I'm so confused.
Kind of like looks over at Callie Zephyrin, who's just sitting there just like, just kind of laughing. and then strolls over very smoothly to Lysandra. I imagine you're going to smell like a great deal of interesting things.
As long as I do not smell like dinner. And then smiles, and that's the peak of like fangs are starting to come in, and it's like a big smile, and the foot is thumping too.
It's like, I wouldn't worry yourself. I'm a vegetarian.
Oh, that sounds boring. Sniff me.
And he's like, so eager, and he leans in and sniffs. You're a bit like me. Just a little bit. You're a theriomorph.
One more time for me in a language I understand. Please.
The state that you're in right now, with your ears and the antlers, I believe it was called a Vulpethinger. Like me, you're a were creature. You could become more of that if you like, if you train up enough.
Alright,
There's also... Oh, quite right. There's also a bit of chaos in you. Are you a bit of a troublemaker?
No. I do not try to be. It just kind of happens.
Right. Chaos. You have a proclivity for chaos then.
I am not an arsonist. Lysandra turns specifically to Blaidd and just like, I am not an arsonist.
Blaidd is in the background doing hand symbols as Duke is talking to Lysandra. Just explosion, fire, weighing things.
Ah, that would explain the bit of smoke I smelled on you.
Well, that was probably from yesterday.
No, it's something else. That it's something deep down. Deep within you, this embers burning.
Oh, I had something pop up on that. Hold on. And Lysandra will just like shake their hand to make the hub come up. Still not.
You figured that out.
Is the elemental soul on the hub now?
Yes, it is.
Lysandra's just gonna be like, elemental soul, fire affinity.
Right, that explains it. You got yourself a nice little fire quirk.
Still not an arsonist.
Not intentionally, mind you.
See? The intention that matters. Now go bully Blaidd, since he's bullying me. Please.
Oh, all right. Also, you're a bit of a dancer.
Yes.
You've got a bit. I can smell that as well. Use that.
All right.
And then he walks away. He starts to step away. Then sniffs again. Goes back. Takes another long. You've got yourself a weapon already.
Possibly.
There's no possibly about it. You've invested something with you. Fascinating. Usually doesn't take this quickly.
quick learner, apparently. Give me a good tempo and a good rhythm, I can make a dance.
Apparently. I'd love to see that.
I might need more of Uncle Aug's jet fuel. Possibly a new Zippo. But
You might, but in time I think you won't need that much at all. And he will step back and turn back to Blaidd. You ready for me now?
You cannot phrase it that way. He just holds it in his hands for a moment. And this poor man who has always been the rebellious spirit, I'll be damned. His whole face, including the nape of his neck and like the tips of his ears, are bright red as he's just like, no one look at me. He just holds a thumbs up.
Right. Sorry. And Callie's like, well, I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one that gets reactive to your charms there, Duke. Like, Duke just turns around, finger crooked at her. Listen, you. Don't you start with me. And Callie looks at him. Don't you start without me. It's like,
Fletch dying in the background while this happens. Like, legs are almost like, we're done.
like, all right. I can see that I'm unintentionally torturing the poor soul. So I'll take the quick sniff, and we'll figure out what's going on with you. And he will lean in as much as he dare without like actually like touching you, and will metal and oil and ozone. Oh, I know this one. And looks over at Carrera. We found you one. And Carrera's like, yeah, I knew. I could have told you that.
This is the one moment where I think through the haze, looking over at Carrera, Blaidd like shrugs and then goes, yeah, this was like the whole point, was that just kind of...
Yeah. And Duke's like, it's alright. I don't always get the full memos of things, or if I do get them, I don't always read the whole thing. So, my mistake.
A look of confusion on Blaidd's face directed towards this man.
And as he steps away, he will shift back into his more human form. And you'll notice that, like, he actually shrinks down, like, a foot. He's in his... At least in this version of his werewolf shape, he is a full head taller. But he noticeably shrinks. Right. Sorry about that. That's, it often helps when I'm in that form to get a better impression of everyone truly. But, didn't mean to fluster you there. I hope that you will, forgive me.
Don't mention it. Please.
Right. Well, Carrera, this one's yours. And Carrera will kind of move towards you, and as she does, she's been wearing like a set of goggles on her head, and as she moves forward, she brings the goggles down, and she gives you a good look, Blaidd, and you can see reflected in the dark lenses of the goggles, like just lines of what look like code streaming back and forth. Oh, right. Do you have any affinities with like any kind of vehicles? Do you drive anything? Or are you good at riding?
The phrasing today is phenomenal.
Oh, I didn't mean it that way. Oh my gosh. And you see her there's splotches of green that appear on her face as she blushes. Oh no, that's not what I meant at all. Oh dear. No. Do you have any vehicular skill?
Listen, it just had to not be just me suffering. And then Blaidd is going to pull out the the skateboard that was just heated along with it.
Oh, we can make that better.
Better?
Make it so that you don't need the wheels.
Like the
train, yeah.
Can I go higher than the train?
We could work on that for sure.
Cool.
Yeah. And as she kind of goes along to the side with you and kind of discusses with you kind of what your training is going to look like, essentially. Duke walks over to you and will kind of begin kind of discussing, right, so hope you're ready for a bit of a workout. You've got some fight in you, and we're going to make sure that you can use that to the best of your abilities. But also, you got a sizable brain there, miss. We can work with that as well. And as Duke is talking to you, very quietly, Desdemona walks over to Malachi. Hello. It looks like you've got some spiritual magic affinity that I can help you with.
This is what I've been told. Did you sense this in me as well? Is this why you've been staring at me?
I've been well, it's, I mean, you're I'm really sorry.
No, nothing to apologize for. No, because I was just curious. I didn't know if maybe you saw something in me, or maybe I reminded you of someone you knew. I just noticed that you were looking at me a lot.
No, you're just pretty.
Oh. Well, thank you.
You're welcome, and
you're quite easy on the eyes yourself.
Oh well, thank you. You say that now. You might not think so once we really get into the training, but there sometimes when most masculine folk tend to be...
Take a breath.
Right.
Okay.
Breathing. Most...
Relax. I'm just a person like you.
Yeah, but some people can be intimidated by me once they get to know me, and that's, it's kind of a thing that I have to deal with. But I will do my best to be to not be so flustered around you.
Wait, what do you mean you have to deal with people being intimidated by you? That sounds like a them problem. Don't let them silence you. You roar.
And you see her eyes go a little wide, and she kind of stands a little straighter. You think I roar?
Absolutely I do. And I can't wait to hear it.
And she will kind of pull at the collar of her robe a little bit. Well, you maybe you will. Maybe you will. That could be nice. But we are talking about you and your training, and we're going to gonna get you sorted, and you too, Miss Lysandra. You've got some magical affinity possibly as well that should be looked into, that I might be able to help you with, this elemental soul that you seem to have acquired.
Oh, that's fine. You did not have to pay attention to me. You can go back to your flirting now.
Right, okay.
Did you know that on our Earth, Rar means I love you in dinosaur?
I have heard about these dinosaurs before. I did not know that there was a spoken language that they... And Calizephrine just bursts into laughter.
And
like, doubled over, like, holding on to her staff.
Lysandra just, like, tries to catches like, Mistress Callie's eye and just winks. And is just entertained completely by watching Desi and Malachi interact, and is now leaning against their own staff, just kind of, because they popped it out, and they're just like, yep, this is going on.
Love it, love it. And then we cut to basically interpose with the title of our episode, because it's time for a montage. So I'm going to take a D4 and see who I start with. See if I can... There we go. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Beautiful. We're starting with Malachi.
Let's do it.
So, over the course of the next few months, you all undergo training with everyone who has arrived here. Desi takes you under her wing, Malachi, and is showing you kind of the ins and outs of working spiritual magic. What would that look like for you? As she's like kind of coaching you in this area.
So I'm assuming at this point Malachi would have his staff and whatnot.
Yeah, she would have helped him kind of find and or make a staff of your own.
So I think at first Malachi would very much struggle because magic is something very foreign to him. I'm in my mind, I'm thinking like the episode of Last Airbender where Toph was trying to teach Aang earthbending.
For sure, yeah.
But eventually, he shifts his way of thinking to, instead of trying to force himself to do magic, to act like he can do magic. And at that point, it becomes easier for him. Like, he starts to, instead of thinking of himself as a sorcerer, he thinks of himself as a stage actor who can turn his performance into magic. And at that point, it just starts to all click into place.
That's brilliant, because that's training both of those classes at the same time. So you discover this, like, that you have this this talent for oration magic and performative magic, and that bleeds into your spiritual magic abilities as well. And in that time, you learn some skills and some spells. She teaches you how to heal. She teaches you how to create basically bolts of light that can harm when need be. And there are these moments where she takes you actually to the theater. to train, and has dressed up a number of mannequins where she is now, and is just the mannequins are on one end of the stage and you are on the other end, and she's helping you, like kind of guiding you towards learning how to create these beams of lux energy, these soul rays that are blinding to you at first. Like you said, you have some trouble with it at first, but you get these through this like performance that you do, through kind of like you're talking yourself through as much as she is talking you through, and it's very much the yes, just like that, yes. I mean, and everyone does it differently, so I mean, and you kind of are learning to use both your staff and your hands as implements through which you can cast this magic, and through your skill as a dramatic actor, as an orator, you also learn that you have abilities to influence and persuade and encourage. You see, like almost by accident, that some of the other actors and singers that are just kind of hanging out in the theater watching you train are affected by some of the things you say, and they become at first kind of unwitting, but then you get their consent to actually like begin practicing this magic with them and on them, and you gain some skill at it. As you at the end of the 6 months, you now within your HUD, under the classes section where there were once question marks, you see now Spiritist, 2nd level, Orator, 3rd level. And like it's very much that like that 80s montage like ending where like the two of you are standing there, she's got like her hand on your shoulder and you're nodding together like, well done.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Well, I'm glad that I was here to help. And then and I love you, Selkie. And then the montage will shift over to Jodie and Duke, and Duke takes you outside, and is now wearing kind of an undershirt with kind of hakama pants, and has his hands wrapped like very like Street Fighter wrappings. It's like, right, so this is the point where we're going to see just how fierce you truly are. Like I said, this is going to be a bit of a workout. Jodie, you ready for this?
Well, kinda have to be, don't I?
Yeah, it's like I said, we've got time, and you I mean not a lot of time, obviously, but we're gonna see what you're made of.
Well, I'm scrappy. I warn you.
I'm excited to see it, and like you guys begin kind of sparring together. Initially with fists and things, and it's like, okay, all right, and he's like, it's kind of tentative at first, just kind of gauging where you're at, what your strengths are. It's like, right, all right, you're pretty tough, you're pretty strong, all right, and just it does the all right. Oh, you throw a punch, hit me, and
all right. So, hit you with what intent?
Oh, hit me as if you're trying to hurt me.
I feel like if I make a mark on your face, some of my coworkers would kind of,
Listen.
not be.
Listen, don't worry about them. This is me. You just wait right here. Just go on and hit me. It's all right. It's all right.
All right, handsome. And she kind of rears back, and as she does, her wing kind of comes with her, like it moves with her.
Yeah.
And as she punches forward, it's like the wing like has a little gust propelling her arm forward as well. So it's like her force plus a little.
And as I'm not even going to make you roll for this. You hit him square in the chest, and it knocks him back a couple of feet and onto his ass. And just, right then, wasn't prepared for that.
I've been practicing.
Your
wings flutter just a little bit.
What was that play Callie made me watch? You are small, but you are mighty. We're gonna.
I'm small.
Well, you're smaller than me.
Right. Fair enough.
Right. Look, let's figure out where you're best at, and you start to spar, and it kind of intersperses, like in that very like 80s way. The screen will kind of split, and there's like the two of you sparring, and there's also you with Callie Zephyrin with a bunch of books kind of studying. She's kind of getting you up to speed on a lot of the lore and a lot of the history and a lot of the kind of the academic knowledge of Phaedos, and with like almost like it feels natural to you, but you see Callie Zephyrin's surprise as you are just absorbing all of this quickly. Like you've gone from a point of just kind of very tentatively kind of learning the writing and the kind of the structure of the writing here, which you all do with time, but you take to it very quickly, and you get to a point to where you're speed reading through these books. And once again, one side of the screen you're sparring with Duke, on the other side of the screen you are just speed reading through these books, and boom, another, boom, another, and you just see book after book piling on top of each other, piling together. And is there a book in particular that you take to more than any of the others?
There's a book that's purple, embroidered in gold, and she can't say why she is taken to this. But it's a series of fairy tales about just little things at first. Little forest folk that triumph over the day, and then it shifts to knights, kings, queens. And the very last story, or set of stories, is about a hunter who meets a harpy, and they begin to form their own family. And she can't say why she's taken with us, but oftentimes when she's not training, you can catch her tracing the etchings of the gold with her finger.
I love that. So as we have that, the split screen kind of moves back to a scene where you are coming directly from kind of a study session with Callie Zephyrin. You're holding that book and another in your arms. And there is a moment where like you spot Duke, and he waves you over, and you move towards him. And I'm gonna spend an ultima point to make this happen. There's a stone that you miss in the flooring, that you trip over, and the books go flying. And you reach first for the book of fairy tales, and you feel something pass from you and into the book, and then back. As the book opens, and it looks like the pages of the book begin to separate and fly away from the book itself, but they spread almost into a bit of a half circle, and then they slam back into the book as the book itself closes among them, and a shaft from the spine of the book suddenly juts out, and you grasp it, and you are now holding a book, but it's also an axe. And Duke is staring at you the whole time like, what? And then you reach for the other book as it is still flying through the air, and that book gets larger as it too takes some of that energy from you. And as you grab it, you go for the spine, but the book opens, turns pages towards you, and there is a handle and kind of an arm clasp that grabs at you, and your book becomes a shield. And Duke just kind of looks at you. Well, I've never seen that happen before.
That makes two of us.
Right. So, all right. That explains the protective vibes I was getting from you. Well then, and he reaches. I was gonna introduce weapons anyway. And he grabs a staff and twirls it about. Let's see what you're made of, shorty. And he just runs at you.
She's getting into stance, but also kind of backpedaling away.
I love it.
Like, hold on now.
And as that happens, we will shift again over to Blaidd and Curator. And Blaidd, I'm gonna let you take over what this particular montage looks like for you, because there's something very specific that happens for you here.
You got the two music backtracks for that too.
I sure do.
To set the scene, for this montage, there is one song that is the center focus. It is this bumpin' rebellion song. Like, it is chaos, it is EDM, it is kicking it. And
I would like to interpose one thing here. As like there's that chaos, that this bumping like music, but you also hear in the back of your mind your students chanting, purpose, knowledge, education, purpose, knowledge, education, purpose, knowledge, education.
Oh, it's brilliant. So this epic soundtrack is transposed over everything, but if you were to listen to this montage and you were to listen just a little closer, there is actually a second track that you can hear over the entire thing, and that second track is softer, it's sadder, it's somber. If a song could be fighting for its life, this would be. And so as this whole little montage starts, it starts out with Blaidd really fumbling around, trying to figure out the ins and outs of the tech that this world has to offer. Even with Carrera's guidance, it's clunky, it's difficult. He's not used to following these directions from a person. He's always taught it to himself, so this is a learning curve.
Yeah.
And so it begins with that, and it begins with the skateboard becoming a hoverboard. That's where everything begins. And then from the hoverboard, it then goes to its leg, but the leg that's missing. So it's going to upgrading that, to changing it, to altering it. But then it just continues. The enhancements don't stop. And it starts to become that over these 6 months, he's replacing his whole body into machinery. But as the montage is going, for one clip, you'll really hear the overlaying epic music going, and you'll see him fit on a new leg, and it has this almost animalistic foot to it that digs into the ground under it and works, and it's brilliant. And then you'll cut to another scene, and it's darker, and it's Blaidd on the floor. It's him struggling to walk. He's coughing. He's weak. He's gaunt. And what the montage really shows is the struggle that Blaidd is facing between being chronically ill and terminal in that chronic illness that is taking his mobility, that's taking his ability to function, that he hates so much whenever he looks at his own flesh in the mirror. And then you get these epic moments that follow it of success, of it's actually working. He's becoming something more, something different. He's becoming something that in his mind can function. And as you get to the closer to the end of this montage, he's in the rafters. He's running. He's sprinting. He's not slowing down for anybody. He's adding more and weirder and less human advancements. You get, he has a scorpion-esque tail that curves up around him and almost curves in front of him as a protective but offensive barrier. There's nothing defensive about him. It's all based on movement. He wants to move. That's all he has ever wanted. And close to the end of the montage, the swaps never stop. They just change. As you get to the darker swaps towards the end, it's pieces falling apart. It's things not working the way he intended. They're experimental. They're new. They're not gonna always function. And so as you get to the end of this montage, despite having replaced every single part of his body, he's almost struggling with the exact same issues he was before. But, at the very end, he is standing in all of his new glory. He is about 6'5". He's very, very lean, very lithe. And the most humanoid you get is in his stance. And he kind of has these humanoid fingers, but they're longer and they're clawed and they're kind of bent in a way that human hands don't bend. And he obviously has the scorpion tail behind him, and there's no face to him whatsoever, and it's not even in the usual like round shaped of a human's face. It's all it's almost triangular. It's very angular. It's indented in a lot of odd places, and it sort of flares out towards the back, and the legs, as that were once human legs, now they have the regular knee up, but they also bend the other way towards the back. They're much more animalistic, and under Blaidd's arm is what used to be the skateboard, but is now this brilliant purple hoverboard that should it move leaves behind almost purple streaks of color, little explosions behind it that are harmless. And on the back end of it comes out this massive scythe that curls up and around, so that when Blaidd is on this hoverboard, over one shoulder is the scythe of the hoverboard, over the other shoulder is his own tail, and there's no difference between them at that point. There's no separation.
Oh, I love that. And just to track back to Jodie for a moment, in your HUD, Jodie, there are, in the places where the classes were all question marks: Lore Master, 3rd level; Guardian, 1st level; Fury, 1st level. And I'd say that both Jodie and Blaidd are looking at their hubs at the same time. The screen is split because Blaidd, for you, it's Pilot, 4th level; Tinkerer, 1st level. And then under Pilot, there are a series of stats listed for Dread Striker, Designation Hoverboard, and a list of modules that you have installed into this hoverboard. And the both of you kind of look at your HUDs with satisfaction, and Carrera on your side of the screen, Blaidd, is in her chair. It's like, yes, both thumbs up, like, we've done it, we've done it. And then the screen shifts over to Lysandra, who is training with both Callie Zephyrin and with Desi. And Callie Zephyrin is kind of getting a sense of what your movements are as a dancer and as an entropist, watching you work this chaos magic that you have, and kind of guiding you through this almost like this dark storm of energy that you have the ability to now manifest. She's like, right. And she's kind of guiding you and teaching you, and noticing that, like, you don't do well with the standard staff, that the staff that you have, that there's now been some investiture of energy into, is working just as well for you as a normal staff. And then watches you over time as you split that staff into 3 places and begin to do that dance. And you've gotten to a point where you no longer need to utilize the jet fuel hooch from Uncle Oggs, where you are now just able to invest your energy into it and light those ends ablaze. And you are kind of moving, and there's one moment where you are moving about, and the chain on the both sides of the staff kind of get a little longer, and the edges of the 2 bits of the staff become a little sharper and a little pointier, and takes notice of that. Oh, that may take a bit of time to evolve, but I think your weapon there is evolving.
Not only am I evolving into something else, but now my weapon is as well.
Well, heroes tend to have what we call soul-touched weapons. They grow with you.
Oh.
As will everyone's weapons in time. I mean, I just the other day I saw Jodie's book become an axe and the other book become a shield. Who knows what that's gonna do? And you see Blaidd's been transforming themselves this entire time. And that hoverboard, that's more than just a hoverboard. And Malachi's staff, he's already kind of begun to invest a good deal of energy into that. And I mean, let's be honest, Desi's been helping him quite a bit with that.
Oh no, I'm training with you today because I told Desi that I needed to train with you, and I really just believed that Malachi needed her more than I did. So.
And she laughs, like full-throated laugh. Oh, you're wicked. I love it.
Well, according to Duke, I am chaos, so.
Yes, and we are going to utilize that dark storm that you're able to utilize. That's fascinating. That's what we will lean more into that and see what you can do with that. But your abilities to dance seem to lean into your abilities with that elemental soul ability that you have there, and that's also fascinating.
Do you want to see how I think I found that?
Yes, of course.
All right, we need to go on a field trip. I need to go borrow a farmer. No
and
questions.
She just
Come with
okay. she trusts you, and you all you go, and I'm assuming you're going for the farmer with the triple guitar.
Him and then the lady farmer who was watching.
Oh yeah, with the Urzu. Yeah. So yeah, you gather the two of them, and they're both like very confused, like but are very much okay, hero, whatever you say. And by this point, like you're kind of on a first name basis. The farmer's name is Crowley, and the woman with the Urzus, her name is Ji. And as you get them together, and I'm not even going to make you roll for this, you notice that there is, like, with your kind of innate chaos magic, there is something binding the two of them, or beginning to bind the two of them. There's something there. And as you lead them, all the three of them, to this clearing, Callie is walking with you, but G and Crowley are walking together, and they're very much do you know what's happening here? And G's I assume that it is going to be something to do with, she told us to bring our instruments, so I maybe I've seen her dancing before, so maybe it has something to do with that. And Crowley, perhaps you look very, very, very nice today, by the way, G. And G kind of straightens her robes. Thank you. You look very, very nice yourself. And kind of like shoulder checks him, holding like very like closely holding her Erzu, but like still like gives him like a very gentle shoulder check. And you lead them to this clearing. What are you doing?
Lysandra looks at Callie and says, so we've been doing this for a couple of months now. You seem to have a grasp on what I might be getting out of this. Can you explain it in a way for them to understand? Because I want to see if the two of them together can translate it into music, and I can make a movement choreography for it. because that might help you understand the way that I operate.
Yes, I think I might be able to do something to that effect. And she walks over and she's starts gesticulating as best as she can as she's talking to them and kind of explaining to them in a best as way as she can, so that the two of them can understand what she and by proxy you and by proxy she wants of them. And they both kind of see them both kind of nodding, and they look at you. So you want us to make you some music that you can dance to,
Yes.
that will fit what you are doing with that there stick there.
And then in what I'm calling a dormant state is it looks like just a metal staff. And then Lysandra just smacks it just against the air, and it does the extending thing again. And then just kind of holds it across both shoulders. Yes, I would like you to make me a soundtrack that will sound like something to help Mistress Kali Zephyrin be able to visually understand what I can do mentally in planning out choreography. I still believe music and dance are two of the grandest forms of storytelling you can do, and just adding a little bit of something to spark the embers.
And she kind of looks between you, Kali Zephyrin, and Crowley, and goes, "Well, you did not have to flatter us so, but we will definitely do our best." And they both take up kind of their positions. G takes kind of a fold-out chair that she can sit on and prop the Urzu up, and she begins to kind of play this lilting kind of tune at first, and Crowley takes his three neck and begins to kind of strum along with and within the key that she's playing in, and it starts off kind of slow and lilting, and then as G begins to speed up, so does he, and it becomes almost this this thumping that Crowley does as he begins playing this boom, 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 boom. And they're playing within that rhythm, and it feels like fight music, like something you would hear at a Chinese opera. It's dum, 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 dum. And Kali Zephyrin begins to kind of nod along with it, and then looks to you and, "Well, Lysandra, I believe that's your cue."
All right, then. You said something about... And then Lysandra snaps both of the sides of the staff from, the chains back into just being a whole staff again, and spins it and catches it. You said something about chaos, and then starts going through the movements of channeling entropy, of channeling chaos, but specifically purposefully trying to mess up and then perfectly recovering it to show one of the eventual benefits they'll get, called Lucky 7.
Indeed, yeah. So yeah, you begin to kind of make these movements, and there are quite a few times where you attempt it doesn't quite go the way you want, but then you get into this rhythm and you try to fail on purpose, but the chaos surrounding you kind of kicks in and has other ideas and props you back up, and moves you through that motion that you almost missed. And you try doing it deliberately, multiple times after that, and you succeed more often than not. And it is a whirlwind that you are now just kind of moving in this kind of wild... Actually, you know what? I'm not going to describe the way you dance. What does your dance look like?
It's actually, you are very correct. It is a wild and chaotic time when Lysandra dances to this music that is supposed to be indicative of what will eventually show up on the class listing on the hub. But the one thing about it that you could compare this to, it's a mixture of a passionate scene in a Chinese opera with the two figures, but it's also in the same way that shadow boxing is a story. It's in the same way that if you watch the embers in a fireplace grow new life because of a likely little gust that blows a little bit too much oxygen onto them and relights it, it's something that builds and builds. And even whenever Lysandra is switching like different modes of the staff, from being just a solid staff to extending it, to having the chains come out again, to having the sharpness come out again, the more time that they spend with this weapon, the more time their soul spends investing into it. It then becomes that it kind of looks like something out of a fairy tale, but very different from Jodie's fairy tale. It looks like the story of almost a forest that got burned down, but the new life coming out from the ashes. It's things coming back to make homes. It's things taking over. It's plant growth taking over, like cobblestones. But then it's also life coming back and new sounds coming back with it. It's just the story of constant chaos and rebirth and fun. But it's also the making sure that if something needs to come next, it will. But it will come next in the time it's supposed to. It's a little bit wrong place, but at the right time.
Right time.
So,
I like that.
Yeah.
So this dancing is going on. Like, you are dancing, and then G gets up and starts to dance along with you while playing the Urzu. And Crowley also just can't help dancing. Like, they are like dancing in circles around you as you are also like dancing in this like wild circle with fire and chaos magic surrounding you. And like, there is a moment where they, like, as they are orbiting you, they begin to orbit each other while they orbit you, taken in by the chaos magic. And they have stopped paying attention to whatever it is you're doing and have begun are just staring each other down, each of them playing and matching each other, matching you. Callie's just looking on, just like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And then once you stop and they stop, they both drop their instruments and they're in each other's arms. And the smooches are just, they are fully in. And Callie's like,
time to go.
Well, I guess you really are. We can't. I guess no. That's rude. We can't watch. Are you sure we can't watch? We can't. Okay, fine. I'll go find Duke.
Oh, come on. Let's go find Duke. I have an idea to
Let's
work
go
with
find
Duke.
Right. Yes. All right.
Can I spend a fabula point to do that with Callie and Duke like as like an
125%. Yes, you can.
Fucking point to get my ship.
Yes, 100%. So yeah, you bring them to the theater, and you do the same thing, and like everyone gets to watch this happen. As you all, for one reason or another, are at the theater. And Lysandra comes in with Duke and Callie Zephyrin and begins that whole ritual all over again. But the music is now coming through the dance itself as you have taken this music and made it part of you. And Duke is almost like transfixed by you for a moment, and then like almost out of the corner of his eye, can see Callie begin to kind of dance and flow with it and begin to move. And the exact same thing happens. They both are just beginning to orbit you. Duke just kind of walking at first, but then kind of stepping into the rhythm gradually, and then slowly beginning to twirl, and then beginning to stamp and clap. And then eventually, Callie Zephyrin meets up with them, and they begin to orbit each other while they orbit you. And as you end your dance, they are in each other's arms. Duke looks up after a moment, and says, excuse us, please, and grabs Callie by the hand and takes her off.
And what's even funnier in this moment is that whenever Lysandra goes to extinguish the flames, it's still the same physical habit of forcing wind through the fire points. But now it's just kind of, I don't have to do that. I do it because it looks cool.
Because it looks cool.
But now it's kind of also making a big enough breeze to possibly knock out the lights. If anything is lit by candle, to give them a little.
I'm gonna use that same fabula point that you used to knock out those candles, and in the dark, Lysandra, your HUD appears. Mutant, 2nd level. Dancer, 1st level. Entropist, 2nd level. And the montage goes from these split screens. So now it's now a 4-way split, as the 4 of you, one in each of those boxes, are working with these new gifts and abilities that you have, and are moving back and forth between kind of getting used to what you're able to do, to where you have become now proficient in these abilities. And we shift from this 4-part scenario to where you are all now standing together. Each of you with your weapons or implements or your hoverboard and your tail. And you now stand in front of Desi, Carrera, and Duke as they, well, you've done well there, all of you. That's not Duke's voice. Wow, that was weird. That was a completely different accent.
You had a real good time with Callie Zephyrin.
I did, yeah, he did. Just shook the Scottish right into him. Right, yeah. You've done well there. It's been 6 months, and you've changed, and you've grown, and you've become more of what you are. Congratulations. And then Carrera steps forward. But there is one more test. We've seen you work, and you've sparred, but sparring doesn't really count much for a real fight. So, here's your final test. And they both turn to look at Desi, which the entire time, Malachi, that you've been working with Desi, she's been in her robes. Desi steps forward, takes off the top robe, and there's still the white flowing robes. She takes off the first layer of the flowing robes, and she is now in kind of a sleeveless robe, and her arms are cut.
God, yes.
She's ripped like a cross between like Bruce Lee, but then has the grace and flow of Michelle Yeoh as she moves into a fighting position. And she goes, "Oh, wait, you're not facing me quite just yet." And she steps back and folds her arms and looks at Carrera. Says, "Oh, right. Oh, this is my turn." And she hits a button on her chair, and the floor in front of her on the stage moves and opens, and 5 automatons rise from the floor, all human-sized, hulking, massive metal mechanical monstrosities. And Carreras moves in her chair and kind of leans to the side so that she's like just behind them, but her head's poking out. Now we get to see what you're really made of. And we are going to move away from that as we travel back up and up and up and up to the 12th floor, to the seat of power, where the guided dreamer sits in his throne, flanked by his assistant, Sophie. Her pale hair now flowing long across her shoulders and down her back. She holds what looks like a crystalline tablet and kind of leans over. "My love, the 4, they're here." And he looks over at her and then looks towards the front of the room, a large kind of double door made of steel, and says, "See them in." And she taps a button on the tablet. The doors swing open, and 4 figures all step through the double doors. All of them are wearing long red cloaks, and all of them are wearing masks. The first one to step in wears a mask that is blank and white, except for a single eye turned on its side, painted in reds and grays, but also looking as if it is carved into the mask itself. Second to walk in is a feminine figure, red cloak. Her mask is that of a wasp's face, carved in the same reds and grays, but bits of gold and green interspersed. Behind her, a larger, taller, a more lithe figure, wearing a Tengu mask, long-nosed, almost completely white, except for the lips and the eyes and the eyebrows, all in red. And behind them, a larger, more hulking and imposing figure, wearing what looks like an Oni mask, bright scarlet red, black horns, black tusks, very like a cross between a Hanya mask and a demon, and a traditional Japanese demon mask. He wears what appears to be an interesting mix of Roman, samurai, and European knight's armor. And they all walk towards the guided dreamer, who sits still, lounging in his throne. Sophie, with one hand on the backrest of the throne, looking out towards them. And each in turn stand before him in a line of 4. And all at once, they kneel before him. And the guided dreamer lifts a hand and then gestures for them all to rise.
Thank you for attending. As my message has relayed to you, the heroes have been summoned. Grant you earlier than expected.
The woman in the wasp mask nods. We have made note of the rise in activity amongst the magical creatures, monsters, and such throughout the lower levels, my lord. Might that be the cause? And the guided dreamer seems to consider that, and then nods.
Yes, I believe it is so.
The Tengu then moves forward. And what would you have us do, my lord? Are we... And you see him kind of teepee his fingers and begin kind of touching them together. Are we given license to play? And the figure in the blank mask, rather than rolling his eye, rolls his entire head. Always playtime with you. Our Lord and Master has called us here for much loftier reasons than simple idle play. Yes? The dreamer nods.
Both of you are in the right. But I wager that there's something different about this form. They are not the usual younglings that get sent here. They are old, wise, and if what my intel tells me is correct, with greater purpose.
And the wasp kind of bends the head to one side. Do you think they know the truth, my lord? And the dreamer folds his arms, considers that for a long moment.
No,
he says finally.
I do not think they are aware of the truth behind their something. I fear that it may come all in due time. What I need from the fourth is to decide amongst yourselves. One of you first will see them out and test them change what they are capable of, so that we might move accordingly.
And each one of the three that spoke, in turn, first the wasp, then the blank mask, and then the Tengu, all look towards the demon. And the demon cracks his knuckles. And though it is already plastered upon their face, you can almost feel like the smile that the demon mask wears widens just a bit.
At last, it's time to play.
And that is where our session will end this week.
Woo!
So, thank you, all of you, once again, for listening to episode 3. It's time for a montage. We will be back in 2 weeks for our 4th episode, where we finally get some combat and we get to see exactly what our heroes are made of. Tune in then. As always, I am Sphinx Akashaa, your current champion of Bards. We'll see how that all turns out at the end of the cycle, of course. And as always, thank you for walking the storied path with us. May the dice roll ever in your favor. You have been listening to the Everbright Archive, a TTRPG actual play anthology series. This episode is from the campaign The Last Story. Your cast has been Madness Diamond as Lysandra Agni, Selkie Cove as Blaidd Laoghaire, Bardic Sweet Tea as Malachi Davis, Brynniursa as Jodie Bank, and Sphinx Akashaa as the Storyteller. For more information about our wonderful cast, access to the show's Discord server, or if you'd like to support our show via Ko-fi, please follow the beacons link in the show's description. We hope you continue to follow us as we continue to walk the storied path. May the dice roll ever in your favor.